This is gonna be cool.
The topics and opinions expressed on the Dudes and Beer podcast are intended for an audience of 18 and up and are solely those of the host and guest. They neither reflect the opinions or values of either the sponsors of Dudes and Beer or your mother. I mean, seriously. Have you ever heard these guys? They'll talk about anything.
Whoa, hey, you think they're gonna show it? They'll probably just blur it out. Whoa, check it out, Beavis.
Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome once again to the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host, and I am here in Katy, Texas right now with my great and good brother, always a guest on the show, Randy. We're out here at the Jordan compound.
That's right.
And with us is a very good friend of quite literally, like I was just doing the friendship episode the other day and talking about how Daniel Franz is my oldest friend in life, and you were right there after him, like right up around second, third grade. We met, something like that, Israel. And Israel Thompson is here with us. He's a photographer and graphic designer extraordinaire. This evening, we will be talking about some of the crazy articles in science, some of the wild things that have happened in science over the last few weeks that have come out. Everything from biological organisms being found on asteroids to signs of life being found on the planet Ceres, as well as signs of extremophile life being found inside of crystals in the crystal caves in Mexico. So just a few things there to kind of launch pad us off into the crazy world of science that's going on whenever we get back from this message from our sponsor.
Have you ever thought about brewing your own beer? Is the urge to brew there, but you just don't know how to get started? Well, Dudes and Beer is here to help. Stop on by the new Dudes and Beer Amazon store and check out all the great brewing supplies and gear today. We have it all, from instructional books and do-it-yourself kits for beginners to 16-gallon cooking vessels, carboys, bottling supplies, and cleaners for all you homebrew pros out there. Everything you need to brew your favorite beverages, even distilling equipment. So stop on by the official Dudes and Beer store today and get your hand on the greatest new brewing essentials. Simply visit dudesandbeer.com and click the Dudes and Beer store tab. Once again, that website is dudesandbeer.com and click the Dudes and Beer store tab today. Happy brewing, everybody. And until next time, drink responsibly.
And we are back. So, guys, I'm in town here for the baby shower, for the family baby shower, all that. And I was like, hey, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity to take an hour or so and just sit back with a couple dudes and just have a couple drinks and philosophize, talk about some deep, crazy stuff that's going on in the world of science.
And ditch the baby shower.
And ditch the baby shower for a couple hours. Let the ladies do their thing and then come in like the triumphant hero that bought roses and let everyone go, oh, your roses are beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Right.
Thanks for all the stuff. No, get out. But enlightened.
Too much estrogen.
Enlightened. Yeah. A little bit much for me. So we're over here. We're philosophizing. We're talking. And one of the first things that we're going to talk about is actually crystals, crystal formation, stuff like that. Randy and I actually stopped off at the Rocks and Mineral shop on the way over here and picked up a couple specimens. Randy got a nice little amethyst cluster, as well as a really big, like hand-sized point of citrine that is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
and I picked up a nice little kind of included quartz cluster that's kind of cloudy, and on the outside of it, it's in this feldspar matrix with all these nice pieces of green, like not aquamarine, but peridot colored, pale green tourmalated pieces inside of it. And it's really cool. I love it. I am a huge fan of rocks and minerals. They are literally the history of the earth. Like you are holding thousands of years of history in your hand. Like the things that were happening when this crystal was growing, like, you know, you have to think America hadn't even been discovered when this crystal started growing.
Well, it probably was discovered by someone.
By someone, but not by who we think. I mean, definitely not Amerigo Vespucci at that time.
No.
And definitely not Christopher Columbus, because he never even came here. He went to Colombia, which is why it's called Colombia.
Oh.
But, you know, I mean, it's wild to me. I've always been a fan of rocks and minerals and a geek for them. But it blew my mind this morning whenever I saw the article about microbial life being found inside of the gypsum crystals, also known as selenite, in the Icara mine in Mexico. And like what you have to understand, people, is that and there are extremophiles out there, you know, things that live in extreme environments, you know, extreme cold, extreme hot. But the pressures and the heat that it takes to make crystal are immense, are crazy. And whenever you think about the fact that like a microbial life form not only managed to live in the liquid that was actually forming that crystal that's like into the multiple hundreds of degrees hot in this mineral bath that's making this crystalline matrix, and then not only that, but get caught in an air pocket and survive in the air pocket in this crazy environment, and apparently survive well enough that they can remove it and revive it.
Seahorses.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
that was that was pretty tight. I mean, when I read that, you know, like you said, that microbes get stuck inside the crystals in pockets and cracks and crevices. And then it gets sealed over, and then they stay there for like 50,000 years.
Yeah.
And then they find them and revive them. And I got to question the wisdom of reviving 50,000 year old microbes that, you know, we may not have any immunity to. Or anything
or any idea what they're doing, you know, or what they do. Isn't that how like Ebola supposedly came around? It was like digging around in a mine and loosening some stuff up. You know, like there's all kinds of horror stories and science fiction written about that. You know, I remember distinctly an X-Files episode with the asparagus stalk that came out, where like they were digging in a mine in Antarctica and came across this ancient spore that ended up infecting them and like growing this asparagus type thing inside of them that popped out and like sprayed spores into your face, and then you were infected. Yeah. And like this whole base got infected by like this ancient organism that was unearthed in the ice. And
that was like episode 1 or season 1. I think.
That was season 1. I want to say it was episode 5 or 6. It was very, very early on, because I remember when I saw that, like it grabbed me. And it was like, ooh, all right, this show's going to be pretty damn sweet, because that's some cool stuff. But you know, we have extremophiles all over the place. We have microbes that live inside of like volcanic plumes under the water. You know, they think that was really probably the bed for life, you know, and where life really started was inside of that primordial soup with all the mineral rich things coming out of the earth that just kind of created the environment with the proper heat and salinity and everything to just kind of start making single-cell life forms there. But for me, it's, I don't know, like you said, Randy, and we said in the episode previously, where is it dangerous to play God in a modern scientific world? Yeah. You know, Brandon Schoeneman, shout out Brandy, she commented on one of my articles on the Dudes and Beer page just last week, like, just because we can do it, does that mean we should? And that was the whole thing that Jeff Goldblum raised. You were so busy standing on the shoulders of geniuses to get this work done, you knew that you could do it. You never stopped to think if you should. And right now there was another article that I posted last week where they are yet again one step closer to reclaiming the woolly mammoth and to actually bringing it back to life. They have decoded just a little bit more of the genome from the full-size woolly mammoth that they found in the Ukraine a few years ago, and have gotten viable hair samples and frozen blood samples and bone samples, and are actively working on bringing back the woolly mammoth, like straight up Jurassic Park status.
Nice.
So,
well, except for they're not using like amphibians.
Yeah, they are. Well, because it's a mammal, not a reptile.
Right.
Yeah.
Mix it up with modern day elephants and shit.
So. Sure. You're gonna mix it with what's available and what it's closest to. Now, what do you make of that, Israel?
Coming to the Houston Zoo.
Yeah.
2020.
Right.
Yeah.
I would love it.
What are we going to gain from that? Is what I'm wondering.
Woolly mammoth pelts.
Yeah. Delicious meat.
Maybe.
Yeah. Like, will there be woolly mammoth hunts coming up soon?
Right.
Like where you can go out and shoot elephants and all that? Like, I don't know. There's enough going on with stuff like that where people are like, oh my God, this person killed a zebra, this person killed a lion. And it's like,
right.
Well, technically they went to that country and procured a permit to shoot said lion.
In theory.
In theory. But like, I don't know, I guess scientifically, what does it mean whenever we find these things? Because, we're constantly redefining what science is, but like, what kind of possible discoveries could that mean whenever we find, like I said, an extremophile that has existed not necessarily in a dormant state, but in a state of preservation good enough to bring it back? And not just that, but like I was saying earlier, in a crystalline matrix.
Right.
To find that in a fossilized remain, totally different. To find that in the remains of an animal in the La Brea tar pit, totally different. But to find these microbes actually living in a crystal, that's what blew my mind, because there's not a whole lot as opposed to like a normal mineral concretion, like dirt, rock, where there's so many things. Minerals are like crystals are typically made of one thing. They aren't made of like a whole bunch of different stuff coming together. Right. It's literally a mineral in its pure form growing. And there are other things that are inside that mineral that make stuff, like wolfenite has part iron in it. That's why it's kind of brownish red, Same thing with your citrine there. That's why it's kind of brownish red. It has iron in it.
Right.
Citrine, quartz, amethyst, smoky quartz, they're all the exact same.
Rose quartz.
They're rose quartz. They're all the exact same quartz mineral base.
Different inclusions.
With different inclusions, different elements that were added in as it was brewing and growing. And that's why it's softer in color on one part, deeper in color on another, all that kind of stuff. That's what creates the striated layers. But to know that, like, what's this thing feeding on? It's not like it's in dirt, where they're like, hell, worms eat dirt and they get plenty of nutrient out of it, and then they make the dirt more nutritious. Even the same thing in limestone, pegmatite, that kind of stuff. There's a different structure, but why crystals? Why are these microbes like living inside of crystals? That's what made my mind question.
Well, I don't think they, some prime, some primal level sought that environment out. I think they were just there, and by happenstance wound up in these cracks in the crystals. And over time sealed over, and then kind of found out, we're stuck in here. We kind of got to.
And I guess my curiosity though is, are these microbes found other places?
Well, I don't know if it said what kind of microbes they were.
Yeah.
But not only was it microbes, but they found archaea, and
viruses.
Yeah,
viruses too.
Yeah.
Sweet, dude. pandemic. Here we go.
Awesome.
Crystalline pandemic.
Yeah.
We're going to wind
Way
up...
to break into
No, it's
Superman's
gonna-
fortress and
Right.
steal the Kryptonian viruses.
Hell
Way to
yes.
go, guys.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pandora's box.
That's
Yep.
it.
That's it. Way to go, Lex.
We'll wind
Way
up
to
being
go.
transformed into a Crystar.
Yeah. That would be sweet.
That would be awesome.
If I was transformed into Crystar, that would be awesome. I am down with that plan.
Yeah, other groups have shown there are lots of viruses in these caves.
Yeah. Oh no, most definitely, and that's
Still keep going in there.
and that's
finding
well,
more.
that's the thing is that it actually fills with water, and then they have to pump and drain the cave out because, like, otherwise, a lot of these crystal formations they can only go in during certain times of the year. They can otherwise. They will literally damage the crystal formations. These things are growing inside of a certain type of water with a certain mineral content. And if they don't have it, they'll start getting damaged. So they literally drain it for about a month or so, do their research, and then let it fill back up for a
really?
year.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not available
Well, then
for
makes
exploration
sense.
the whole
That makes
year.
sense how it could be filled up with, how microbes and things like that.
Oh, sure,
Viruses, stuff.
absolutely. But like I said, being trapped for 50,000 years inside of something that is not gas permeable. Like I said, if it was trapped in amber, like the sap is gas permeable.
Right.
If it were trapped in rock that was made out of dirt or
Well,
mud,
I guess the
that
big
was
thing
gas
is
permeable.
they've not been living in there for 50.
No, but they're still viable.
Right.
But they lived in that environment, and that's what I'm saying.
maybe
Is like
that's-
once
maybe-
they were sealed up, they were encased like in an eternal petri dish, pretty much.
Yeah.
The
Or
only
like an
difference-
amber or something like that. Where
Well, and the
everything
curiosity is once these were dead. Well, it's one thing if they're an extremophile and they live in these extreme conditions. How is it that once sealed up, these extreme conditions killed them, and yet still they remained viable in the extreme conditions? That's curious to me. It's really odd.
Well, the thing is, they're single cell organisms,
Sure.
so it's not like they've got anything really complex that has to be revived and all of that. I think it's much easier to revive something.
yeah,
a microbe.
plankton, a microbe, something that is single cell, an amoeba,
Right.
something like that, which isn't single cell, but
Right. Amoeba's single cell.
is an amoeba single cell?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought it was like a community living together.
This is not far off from the recent, 2014. I was reading something about they found life in the ocean's deepest trench.
Yep. Well, and there was another article that I posted today about how organic matter has been found on an asteroid, like spattered on an asteroid that's zooming by Earth, And hey, like we're pretty well familiar with the fact that this is not necessarily an uncommon occurrence. We do have the fossils, the fossilized microbes that were found in the meteor that came from Mars, all that kind of stuff back in the early 2000s, late 1990s. That was really the first big groundbreaking one where it was like, yes, there is life outside of our planet. Microbial life, though it may be, that's building blocks. That's what can become.
Because that's what we all came from.
Yeah, we all technically started off as microbial life. Technically, something very, very
I'm
tiny.
not saying they found microbes on the asteroids. You're saying they found organic
material.
organic compounds.
Yeah.
Like methane and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's organic.
Yeah,
So but that is a big deal.
it is.
Because
It's huge.
It's not in an environment that has geologic forces that are constantly
That's right.
keeping it stirred up and
Yeah.
all of that, like Earth or
Yeah, or methane that requires something rotting per se to produce it as we know it, as we produce it. To basically compost stuff, bury it, let it heat up and produce methane, and then we pump it and use it.
I think we've discovered amino acids in
Oh, yeah.
outer space and stuff like that.
No, that was actually just shown on the Planet series. That was another one that I was going to bring up that I posted this last week, was that they found the building blocks of life on the Planet series.
Not a planet.
Well, a moon. The moon series.
Is it a moon?
Yeah.
Planetoid?
Get it right.
Something
We're
like
going to donate
that.
your brain.
Something like that. Oh, you can donate my brain. That's fine. That's another one that they're asking for right now is like huge brain donations. They're asking people like, please, if you're an organ donor, if any of our listeners out there are organ donors, make sure to put a specificity in your will that you want to donate your brain. There is so much brain science that could go on that doesn't go on because they do not have the ability to study that stuff. They do not have the specimens. It's not like kidneys. It's not like livers. It's not like hearts. People don't tend to donate that.
Well,
for some reason.
People that have post-traumatic stress disorder, depression. If you're one of those, then donate your brain. But if you're
absolutely.
not one of those, then
well, and it was interesting because you got into the brain articles. One of them that I did post was the fact that they have actually shown that they can detect the presence of autism in the brain.
Yeah, I saw that
before it manifests itself. So that's pretty interesting. The fact that they can actually give a huge early diagnosis for autistic traits and things like that just from normal brain scan.
It is.
And that kind of stuff. That's pretty incredible. And related to that, not in the autism realm, but in the realm of brain things, damages to the brain, that kind of stuff.
How do they find that though?
I want to say it's through like genetic testing, things like that.
Because
like blood testing and brain scans. But associated with that was the article about...
through
go
blood
ahead.
testing?
What's that?
Through blood testing?
I would think so.
Is that what the article says?
I don't know. I was asking.
I would think so.
You read something recently.
Because, they actually, they did a full genetic panel on us and gave us...
Right here.
What's that?
I got the article here.
Oh, okay.
Look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, they gave us a full genetic panel and we're like, listen... We don't show any genetic propensity
so the
for
earliest
autism.
at the moment is age 2.
Wow.
So they can't detect it in the womb beforehand.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah. But even at age 2, that's pretty incredible. Like age 2 is a really, really early diagnosis where you can really change the way that you are teaching your child, the way that you change their personal traits,
right,
and how they deal with situations. Like to find out at age 5 to 6 or 7, like is normally diagnosed, like you're pretty far down the line as far as how they socially communicate. You know what I mean? Like if you think about it, because your child's right up around that age, right up around 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
Like you can already, I'm sure, see the fact that like the socialism is there. Like, and I don't mean like he's a red, he's a communist. That's his choice when he gets older in life. But what I mean is, you can see the social traits.
Teaching him well.
That's right. You can see the social traits in him. You can see the fact that like when he goes to the playground, like he goes up and he talks to people and like gets in the game and stuff like that. You kind of have to let that develop. But imagine what it is for an autistic kid, especially someone who's like borderline autistic. Let's say like Asperger's, something like that, a really high functioning autism. It's hard for them to make that step. And by the time they're 6 or 7, they may have experienced so much rejection that they no longer want to make that step. When technically for the last 3 or 4 years, you could have been giving them full coping mechanisms on how to deal with those social anxieties, on how to read those social cues from people.
Yeah, you get a jump start, definitely.
Because that's really a big part of autism in the brain is the fact that it actually manifests itself in the fact that you don't pick up an emotional cue. Right. That's one of the big manifestations is emotional affectedness, things like that, where you just are not affected by things. You don't realize the general cues of like uncomfortableness that someone would give you.
Right.
And if you look at it, like a lot of our we actually just watched the movie The Accountant, I was telling you, and that was part of the thing was that he was like high functioning Asperger's. And it was interesting to see him play this role because like he did a great job at it. He really did. If you know people like with high functioning Asperger's. Was that the one with Ben Affleck? Yeah. Oh my God, dude, that was so good. I
started watching that. That was really good.
It was so good.
From what I've seen so far.
So good. But they really tackled the concept of how somebody would deal with that. And, you know, the fact that like he used it to his benefit because it helped him with math.
Right.
So, yeah, it was really interesting. But to be able to recognize those things, even as someone who worked with kids, worked with youth, it would make such a huge, huge difference in the way that we deal with our children in school and the way that we teach. I mean, would you tend to say that, Israel? I mean,
right on.
You're a father of right up around that age. So.
Yeah, I would like to know in advance.
Mm-hmm.
It does beg the question, though, if the detection was even sooner, like while the baby was in the womb, would some people opt to abort the child?
I was just thinking the same thing.
And you know, I'm not going to say that because we're both of advanced age, my wife and I, as far as birthing goes.
Okay, as far as birthing goes, maybe.
As far as birthing goes.
Not advanced.
All right. No. That's literally the... Yeah, I know, right? I know. That's what I feel. Number one, I feel like a ghost whenever I go to the doctor. I may as well just, like, put a black sheet on. Like, I may as well be a shadow in the corner, dude. They don't even make eye contact with me. It's all about that woman on the table. There is no, like, question directed to me. There was at one point a dude that came in, like, in our second session that asked us to, like, take part in this study because of our age, my age and hers giving birth at 38, that, you know, we would like to do a special genetic panel on you to rule out any genetic issues, major genetic issues, Down syndrome, things like that may occur. And literally, like, that insurance dude did not even, like, glance in my direction. He didn't even look at me. It was like, so, do you, ma'am, give your permission for you and your baby to take part in this study? And it's like, yo, right here, fella. Hey, I don't have to sign this too. Hey, like, legally married, my baby, totally here for that. But no, none of that. Totally cut out of the process.
Wow.
But yeah, they literally did like these crazy genetic panels to test for any traits for Down syndrome, any genetic anomalies that may happen, because as you get older, the propensity for that gets greater.
Right.
The risks for that get greater. The risk for a complicated pregnancy.
It's also two whites.
Yeah.
There's what is it? There's one of them that's common. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah.
What is it? No, I completely hear what you're saying. I mean, that's, you know, not, and that's kind of the double-edged sword of it, is that, you know, we've got, and everything. I mean, everything, you know, we've talked about it 100 times. I know on this show, where you've got this technology that could really, you know, break down doors and change, you know, revolutionize things.
Yeah.
But on the other side of it, you know, on the backswing,
yeah, when the pendulum goes the other way, because there's a chance that something like that could be abused too. Definitely genetic screening and all that stuff. It would be great if you could, you know, in utero know, you know, a dozen or 100 different conditions your kid might have. But would that, if someone were pregnant, and I mean, it happens now. So I'm not going to say this is like some far off, you know, hypothetical future. Yeah,
it happens now.
Oh no,
where people, like, you know, like Israel said, can find things out about their child and go, oh, you know what? You know, my child's going to have Down syndrome.
Yeah.
I think we probably ought to just try this again.
Yeah. And you know, when that test happened, when they took the test and we were waiting on results, we had a good 48 hours where we talked about it. We said, let's take a break. Let's think about it. Come back. Talk about it some more.
Yeah.
Because that's a heavy topic, man. Because, as opposed to someone who's 24, we're in our 40s, and the likelihood of complication is that much greater.
Right, yeah.
I mean, even right now, as Dalbus sits, he's breech. So, I mean, they're gonna grab him by the third leg and just pull him out.
Oh, wow. Substantial enough to do that, eh? I've seen the pictures.
Yeah. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. but
I mean, it's the good side of it is if you know your child's going to be born with certain conditions, or 75% chance he'll develop this down the road, or has a 80% chance that he'll have some kind of condition on the autism spectrum. You know how to prepare.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
That right there is the beautiful side of that technology and
Absolutely.
the capability to do that. On the other side, the ugly side is, oh wow, this is going to be an awfully big inconvenience. Terminate.
Yeah.
And that's
well, and I think though, we've covered the topic on the show before. Go ahead.
Let me take it a step further than that.
Do it.
Okay. Who's paying for? Who holds the reins of all of this stuff? Okay. The insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, insurance company, and I mean this
multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more
As you get
prevalent
older?
amongst white Caucasian.
Yes. Yeah, and that was one because we had a cousin, Randall. Daryl. We had a cousin, Daryl, and granted, it was during birth that his issue happened and caused his cerebral palsy. But it was one of those things of like his quality of life, everything else. What do you do about that? That is such a hard decision to make. And, the thing that we said is, if there's a 75% chance, you know what? There's still a 25% chance not. I'm not willing to not take that. Right. You realize how many times I've been counted out by more than 25% and I made it?
And here's where it gets ugly, okay? Insurance companies exist for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And an insurance company is probably going to look at someone
to mitigate risk. That is their job, to mitigate risk.
Say, I'm sorry, Mr. and Miss Jordan, your child has X, Y, and Z, and we're not going to be able to cover that.
Yeah, and when it does become a true statistic game like that, because and make no mistake, it
doesn't have to be. It could be hard ass fact.
Mm-hmm.
Your child in there right now has, trisomy 21.
Yeah,
your child has Down syndrome.
Yeah,
and comes with a whole host of complications down the road, and we can't cover that. Sorry. What the hell do you do? I mean that right there is
because
the
technically. Is that not a pre-existing condition at that point? I mean, by all legal term, a pre-existing condition, technically that baby ain't born yet. So once it gets here, the condition exists. So technically that's a pre-existing condition from the get-go in utero.
You know what?
And I mean, we were even talking about that the other day, Amy and I, because we were literally told that we would have to get a pediatrician before our baby's born. And I'm like, wait a minute. The hell are you talking about? Technically, by all law that y'all have, that's not a baby.
Yeah, well.
So why do I need a pediatrician for it? By all law that y'all are utilizing for this stuff, that's not a baby yet. So why do I need a pediatrician for it?
Right.
That's just my logic. I'm just curious.
You kill a mother and her unborn child. That's double homicide.
That's double homicide. And not only that, there was the landmark case in Minnesota where the girl was up against her third charge for, I think it was heroin addiction or something like that. And the judge got her not only for breaking her probation, but for distribution to a minor that was in her womb.
Speaking of addiction.
That was landmark.
Wow.
That was landmark. Yeah. It was like, wow, he just got her on distribution to an unborn minor.
That's wild.
Whoa.
I don't know if it was distribution, but it was some kind of...
No, it was
some kind of charge was because she was
contributing to delinquents,
endangering the health of minors or something like that. Yeah, some crazy.
Yeah, it was like
if our court,
it was like, whoa, the court just got finished saying that was a human being.
Right. Whoops, our bad. Sorry.
Whoa, wait a minute. So it brings up all these moral questions. It brings up all these concepts that I don't think that we as a society actually sit back like this and discuss. I think it's much more to the point where people are willing to say, this is what I think and I'm right and you're stupid for not thinking it.
Right.
Instead of having the actual discussion. And like, I know you don't align with everything that I say, Israel. I mean,
why not?
You're pretty close to everything that I say. But, I've got friends that straight verge on socialism. And I have no problem with them. You know why? Because we can sit back and have an intelligent conversation and at least agree on the fact that, like, what's going on in the media right now is freaking horrifying.
Right.
We can at least find common ground and discuss stuff.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of what this show's about, is being able to sit back and talk about these complex issues that most people don't sit around and talk about anymore.
So far, I haven't heard anything you say anything that I've
not agreed with.
Pretty much been on board with.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. Number one, but yeah, it's just it's strange to me that this stuff is secondary news. None of this stuff over the last week and a half was any kind of headline news. Not a single bit of it came off a Facebook feed. Not a single bit of it came off any kind of social media feed. It came straight off like, because I follow BBC Science, because I follow science.com.
Go to the website,
yeah,
and look at it.
Yeah, I actively follow their news, and because I follow their news, that's how I find out about it. But
that's what I've been doing.
But if exactly like you dropped, and I want to talk about that for a minute, because you actually recently dropped off Facebook, and you dropped off for a while, for about 2 years or so there, and then came back. What was it that? Because you weren't really like an act like. I'm out there with my podcasts and stuff like that. I'm posting to Facebook like 10, 15 times a day. Easy. If that's a slow day, I'm posting 10 or 15 times or commenting on people. But you weren't really a huge poster, like active like that. What actively made you want to leave the platform again, Israel?
Well, first, I never did really leave 2 years ago. I may have been confused with someone else there.
Okay, I thought maybe it was just that you kind of dropped off activity for a little while and came back.
Yeah. But it was, for me, it was probably a lot different from other people.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at it too much. It was just eating away at too much of the time in my day.
Right.
Yeah.
I found that I would be looking at it in the morning when I woke up. It was like one of the first things I looked at.
Right. Oh man.
And,
yes.
You go take a dump. You're looking at Facebook.
Yeah.
You bring your phone with you everywhere you go. You're looking at Facebook.
Yeah.
It's the last thing you look at before you go to bed.
Should be on BBC Science on the toilet.
So I'm like, this is too much. I need to cut myself off.
Yeah. No. It's definitely addicting.
And not only that, given the current time where we're at right now with the media and all the bombarding of trash that's
just straight negativity, man.
Everyone's posting on there.
Yeah.
It's just, why am I even wasting my time looking?
Yeah.
It's one thing that I am wasting my time, but why am I wasting my time looking?
Well, it's like, exactly.
And I found that I wasn't doing my own research enough like I used to be. And going directly to news sources and looking at things, and so I just decided to cut it off. Yeah,
following the headline, not reading the story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a dangerous trap to get into. It's an easy, quick fix habit to have.
Yeah,
and I'm even guilty of it. I posted an article up, and Julie, our new PR person, responded to it, and then it was the first thing that I saw. Like you said, woke up, went to go post the episode, and while it was uploading, I was looking. And I'd literally been up for about 10 minutes, hadn't even brushed my teeth yet. And I'm like, whoa, that's bombshell. And I posted. And I hadn't I'd read the first paragraph, but I didn't read all of it.
Yeah.
And then she was like, well, from what it said, and I went through and I read all of it. And I was like, you know what? You're right. It's not anything it could absolutely be crazy, totally creepy.
Yeah.
And it was this article about newspapers and magazines and things like that getting censorship readers, and really what it was people to like in the lifestyle sections, whenever it's like Chris Jordan's a live audio engineer and this and that, like they will actually have an audio engineer consultant come in and talk to their writer so that their writer is getting terminology right. Yeah. So, that kind of stuff, more fact checking than actual censorship.
Right.
But it could so easily lead to censorship. It could so easily be like, whoa, wait a minute. No, we're not going to say that.
A lot of it's just clickbait.
Yeah, exactly.
You click it, and then you start to read the first paragraph or so sounds sort of on par with the topic, and then you're like, oh yeah, and then you start reading further down, and then it's like all this bombardment of biasness, and it's like they're just trying to brainwash you with all the rest of it after that, and you're like, what did I just click on? What
what the what? Yeah, and it's dangerous.
So there's no longer news. I mean, I don't know, like you could probably like quantify like some sort of ratio or whatever, but I mean, it used to be when you go to a newspaper and you'd be reading stuff, there was a difference between the opinion column and news.
Right. Yeah, difference between op-ed and an article.
Now I think the ratio has changed so much where it's like
it's changed entirely.
If it may not be classified completely as opinion, but maybe they're just interjecting biasness in there. It's so much of it that it seems like an opinion.
Right. Yeah. No, it is. Yeah. And you know what? I've done kind of the same thing, but maybe not consciously. I just got pretty much right after the new year. I mean, I could say I've spent probably the longest stretch of time I've spent on Facebook, I would say has probably been about 10 minutes at a stretch. And even that, I could say probably 2 or 3 or 4 days this entire year so far have actually gone through and just scrolled through the feed and see what's going on. I see when people post things to the groups that I'm a member of, and I'll go and check it. But I'm not scrolling through everybody's stuff anymore.
Yeah,
and I think what really did it is just the insanity of what went on and still is going on with people's political crap.
Right. Yep.
It's like I'm not on Facebook to read your political crap.
Yeah.
Okay. So if that's what you're going to do, fine, you do that. I've got no interest in it. And Mark Zuckerberg, I don't give a shit about your political stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think the more I hear of all the stuff that Mark Zuckerberg is doing out there, the less and less I really want to give my internet presence to Facebook, to be honest with you.
Sure.
So, I mean, I could leave it. I could walk away from it.
And it's funny,
I don't care.
because one of the posts I put up yesterday, as a matter of fact, just before we left Austin to get here, and I was like, apparently Pope Francis listens to Dudes and Beer. But it was an article.
I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah. You should have. You're part of the Dudes and Beer group. But no, literally Pope Francis was like, listen, people, the name calling has to stop. From both sides. And this isn't just America, it's all over the world. Like, if you go in, like, we've got tame elections, man. Go check out the Italian elections sometimes, all right? Like, people still throw tomatoes and lettuce and stuff at candidates.
Hell yeah.
It's crazy. And that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Let it happen. I was just telling Mom today, and she's a history major and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you know what we need to go back to? The days of Andrew Jackson. And I don't mean owning slaves. I mean Andrew Jackson in the House of the Senate, where it's like, you know what? You're an idiot, sir. And he gets up and hits him with his cane. or Alexander Hamilton, where it's like, oh yeah? You got a problem, bro? Let's take this outside.
Right.
You and me, front lawn, pistols. Let's roll. Like if you want to do something, go do that. I don't mind people protesting and things like that. But what I do have a problem with is the House of Representatives out protesting. Isn't it kind of your job to be in there changing that law that you're actively out there protesting about? Right. And aren't you in session?
Right.
Right. That's just my wild theory and my wild thinking is, and Pope Francis was basically like, hey, both sides, everybody, stop. The name calling gets us nowhere. It does not open up a dialogue. It is not an intelligent way to get a point across. It does nothing but tear down the point you're trying to make and tear down progress.
Right.
And burn every bridge that we're all actively standing on. You know? And really, that's what has to happen. Like I was saying earlier, like creating a dialogue, creating an open dialogue where people can sit down. Like we've said it before, a lot of the show goes back to the founding of America and the concept that the American Revolution started in the Green Dragon Tavern, and it was a bunch of people sitting around in a tavern, in a public house. You know, it was called the pub, the public house, for a reason. It's where everybody gathered. It's where everybody went. Everybody. So you went there, you had a pint of ale, and you talked to your common man, you know, the dude that shared the property line with you, you know, the minister down there and things like that. And you talked about religion, and you talked about philosophy, and you talked about politics, and you talked about economics. And for some reason, somewhere along the line between then and now, really from our grandparents' age to now, because I remember at my grandparents' table, they would sit around and talk politics at dinner. You know?
Yeah.
What?
Or religion.
Or what was going on. And like that conversation has just been stricken. It's been removed. You know? And it's odd to me. How are we supposed to have the progress without the conversation? Without the dissension? Without the disagreeing opinion? How are you supposed to grow as a person? You know? It's like whenever I used to teach, I used to tell my kids all the time, the only stupid question is the one that you didn't ask. Literally. Yeah. And it's okay to ask a question. It's okay to not know. It's all right to not know the answer.
Well, I think that the problem with today is it's a lot of people they're already so hardcore set one way or the other. And it doesn't matter what gets brought out in the conversation. They're pushing a certain narrative.
Yeah. And
that narrative is the only thing they're pushing. And so that's why a lot of times certain conversations between people will just become volatile.
Yeah.
Or sound like a broken record because they keep saying the same thing over and over again. And I'm not going to shut up and listen. I'm just going to sit here and keep saying the same crap I've been saying for...
Yeah. Well, and we just did an episode about that a couple weeks ago. It's called Cognitive Dissonance. And it's literally what happens to your brain. It's kind of like a pit maneuver. You know, like whenever you see cops and the car is going this way and the cop comes up and swings the car the opposite way by pivoting it on a point.
Right.
The main reason they do that is because like 75% of cars will stall out because of that gear ratio locking up.
Yeah.
In the differential. So it literally shuts the vehicle down and they can surround them and swarm in. So it's literally the safest way to stop the race. It's the safest way to stop the speeding car.
Don't really know how to drive
your brain
in that situation.
And people
regain control.
Yeah, that too. Well, but the thing is, they aren't trying to hurt somebody. They're trying to get the car to literally seize up and stop in its place.
Right.
They aren't trying to like run them off the road. Fiery death. It happens sometimes. But my point here is that our brains do the same thing. We have this little almond-shaped thing in the middle that's the reptilian brain called the amygdala. And that is what is directly responsible for our fight-or-flight mechanism. That's what's responsible for you walk into a room, you get a crazy vibe, and you either leave or you buck up and you get yourself ready to confront something because you feel something is going on. Mm-hmm. Now, there's another part to that, and it's fight, flight, or freeze. And the brain does the exact same thing whenever it is actually confronted with information that it considers to deem against the paradigm it believes.
Yeah.
And it will either accept the information, flight, let's go with it, let's go. Let's all go have a party. There's some new information, let's talk. It'll fight vehemently, even though you just told it that the information that it has known forever and proved it and showed them proof that it is wrong. They will fight you, and they will fight you to the death that you are wrong, even though you have just showed them with all empirical evidence that they are false. Or they just mentally lock up, and they don't even know how to process the information. And the latter of the two is what seems to be happening in our society right now. Instead of people having the open mind and wanting to run with the situation, wanting to go with it, wanting to have an open dialogue and say, hey, you think something differently than I do on this situation. Let's sit down and talk about it. Let's find a common ground in some way to resolve our situation. You can probably attest, as well as Randy, having children that are in school. What are the conflict resolution skills like nowadays at school?
Fisticuffs.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know.
Mine's not in. He's too young to be.
Yeah.
They drop their suspenders and roll up their sleeves and.
That's right.
Ahoy! Come on now.
How thee?
Somebody bring me my mustache wax so it doesn't go crazy while I fight.
Right.
You know. But
Well, I mean, you take one of your gloves off and you slap the
you
other guy
slap them across
the
the face.
Yeah.
And that's it.
You're right.
Exactly.
I demand satisfaction.
I demand satisfaction, sir.
If only it was that easy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's part of the conflict resolution.
I don't think so.
Taught in today's schools. No. I think conflict resolution involves. I don't know. If your feelings are hurt, just shut your mouth, or go tell the teacher. And
Well, I'm okay with that. That's where it was when I was in school.
well. I don't know.
I'm just playing.
Mine's barely in kindergarten, so it's not the full blown.
No, you haven't gotten into
wacky stuff yet.
No, not yet. But it's coming.
The hippie stuff that they're brainwashing with.
4, 5, and 6-year-olds, I remember teaching them, and they're a magnetic little group, man, because they start they start forming their own little societies, and it's kind of like a Lord of the Flies type situation over Legos and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. Definitely.
Don't mess with the Legos.
Don't mess with the Legos, bro. Don't mess with Lego time. But yeah, to me, it's something that the dialogue stopped a long time ago. We stopped actively listening to each other, and I just did an episode of Yes But Why with my wife Amy, and the whole thing was with this nice lady that does corporate workshops and things like that, basically teaching entrepreneurs the skills of an improver in order to move and shake and deal with people and network and get things moving, get things flowing in an office and things like that. And I was like, to me, we have created a society, especially with the social media, especially with everything else, where we're no longer, it's like Uma Thurman put it in Pulp Fiction. Are you actually listening, or are you just waiting your turn to talk?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And I think so many people are just waiting their turn to talk.
What'd you say?
Exactly.
Exactly. I didn't hear what you said.
Exactly. I was busy forming my next thought.
Yeah.
I was busy forming my next thought. I wasn't listening at all.
No, exactly. I'm working on a retort.
Yeah, and that's the danger, and I think a lot of that stems straight into the straight sarcastic nature that our country and culture has taken. To me, sarcasm, it's fun, it's great, it's super easy. It is the low-hanging fruit on the tree. You ain't got to twist, you ain't got to work to get it off. You just touch it and it falls off in your hand. Right. And it's so sweet and ripe, it just gets you drunk, But ask the monkeys in the Serengeti how they feel the next day after a handful of overripe fruit. They don't feel real good. And that's how we kind of, as people, feel inside after we use our sarcasm and our rapier wit that we're taught to use all the time in society against each other.
Yeah. No, long term, it's not very productive.
No, it really isn't.
But I tell you what does feel good inside is that Henry's hard grape soda.
This Henry's hard grape soda is out of control. And I'm going to say right now, it is apparently straight out of a fountain. Because that's what it says inside the bottle.
No, it does, doesn't it?
Straight out of fountain.
No, mine says Henry's finest hour.
Oh, well, they all have little private messages.
I don't think that it means that it's straight out of a fountain. I think that means you're out, you're done, you drank the whole thing.
Oh,
This one
Like
says,
maybe I should run out to the fountain real quick.
this one
Get
says
another
double
one.
thumbs.
No, that's fortunately they're on two different hands. So
Henry approves.
Mm.
Very nice.
again with the double thumb.
That's
But yeah, I've been a fan of the Henry's hard sodas. This is the first time I saw the commercial the other day for the grape, and I was like, oh my god, oh sweet baby Jesus, they have grape. I gotta find grape.
no, their ginger ale is awesome.
Their ginger ale is incredible. Like
They have a lemonade too.
No, that's Mike's.
No, that's Mike's. Mike's hard.
Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Yeah. Mike's has always been good. But this is like made with cane sugar, straight up soda pop.
Gotcha.
Like it's amazing. Like
with
the orange,
what's in there, malt liquor or something?
no, not even.
No, it just says contains alcohol.
Yeah.
I bet it's malt.
It's leftover tequila.
Contains Zima.
Zima, yes. Contains Zima 122.
They just changed the label.
Right. They just rounded the bottle
Marketing
off.
wasn't well.
They just rounded the bottle.
Malt
instead of,
beverage.
Is it a malt beverage?
Yeah,
So it is
with
just like Zima.
With natural flavors.
We
and
are
certified-
drinking flavored Zima, boys.
Oh, and certified colors.
Mm.
No, they've got the ginger ale.
Certified. That is actually purple.
Their orange soda. Their orange soda is badass.
Oh my god, it's wrong.
Yeah.
It, like I said, that tastes like a Welch's grape soda.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
With Zima mixed in.
Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. If it was ice cold, like on a day like today, it's gorgeous outside.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It's great. It's great. And
This stuff-
the
this
next
stuff-
one is the Czechvar original, Czech imported lager from the Czech Republic.
It's pretty skunky.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure it's in a green bottle. Number one, just so you know, folks, if you get beverages in a green bottle, they will tend to be a little bit skunkier than most.
Skunkier than Heineken.
Green and clear. Heineken is in a green bottle.
Yes, skunky.
However, if you notice, Amstel Light, not nearly as skunky, really the same brew as Heineken in different bottles. One's in a brown bottle, one's in a green bottle. And if you actually have Heineken in a keg, it tastes totally different than Heineken in a bottle because it wasn't in the green bottle and it doesn't get skunky. The UV light not being blocked by brown actually creates the skunky flavor in a lager beer. So there you go. Little bit of brewing fact for you, folks.
Yeah,
and we'll be getting into a lot more stuff like that. Thank you so much to Julie Connolly, our new PR and events person. She is out there ripping butt, just straight up putting people online to come and be on the show.
Way to go, Julie.
She is working on some live places. We've got a secret location. It's not for sure yet, but we're working on it. But we will be live out on location in Austin, Texas for our 100th anniversary coming up.
Oh, what is that?
For our 100th show. That is coming up.
You're looking pretty good for
This is episode 93. Yeah, for 100 I'm doing all right. Just a little bit of gray, only one knee brace on. I'm not bad. A little bit of gout here and there.
You got the Reed Richards.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm going for.
Keith Richards.
Yeah, no. If I can live as long as Keith Richards, I will take up a heroin habit. I'll tell you that right now, because at that point, if I hit like 80 and I'm still on stage playing or doing tech, just like give me
the only thing
give me a morphine drip, dude. I'll just hear and click that thing the whole show.
Just kept him going.
Yeah. Rose up.
Boy. Yeah, so 100 so this
100th
is 93?
episode, yeah. This is episode 93. It's wild, man. We're
So
almost 7
what's going
weeks
on for
away.
the 100th episode? Do I need to go up to Austin?
You
for that?
definitely need to come up, but it's going to be a Tuesday night.
Oh,
wow.
It's going to be a Tuesday night.
that sucks.
Well, you know, we go live on Tuesdays.
Maybe we need to go live on like a Saturday.
Okay. Well, we'll see. That's up to Julie. Julie, that's on you, girl. Get on it.
Oh, nice.
But she has been working so hard, man. She's been out there busting hump and getting us people, getting us places, finding new stuff. So we will hopefully be talking to a lot more brewers
We do
here soon.
the 100th episode at a brewery.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That is the actual plan. And we'll have giveaways. We'll have all kinds of stuff. We'll have some games, you know.
So the tail
pin the tail on the bartender.
Nice.
Things like that.
Spin the bottle.
Spin the bottle.
Yeah, there you go.
Bartender.
Yeah.
Nice.
Spin the bottle for the bartender. You hear that, Michael Folk? We're coming for you.
No, not so much. That's not what I
Randy
meant.
just bought 20 tickets at $10 each, folks. He's going to be spinning for the next 30 minutes. But it's going to be fun. It's great, man. We're going places. It's fantastic. And you guys coming on, giving us conversations like this, making episodes like this happen. That's what it's all about. This open dialogue is what it's all about. It's what's so important in our world now. You know, I can't wait. We're actually looking at having some lawyers on. We're looking at having some people of science on. All kinds of stuff. So it's going to be, you know, we're going to be making a few changes at episode 100 as far as some of the lineups and some of the things that we cover and how we go about doing it. We're going to be like out live once a month somewhere, be it like a cigar rolling exhibition or, you know, nice. Beer festival, what have you. We have all kinds of new technology now to be out like fully live in a crowd, not locked down to power. No, that's so awesome. We can go out and do. We can do. Yep. I actually purchased Al Franken's helmet from 1992, and that is what I'm using.
Yes. Oh,
that is correct.
State of the art.
State of the art. Always. All with the Eid coming in from by a distance with one of the best Saturday Night Live skits ever during the first Gulf War, folks. Go check out Senator Al Franken.
Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. One of the best comedy writers ever, sincerely. Toured with the Grateful Dead. He was so good at writing comedy. He opened for the Grateful Dead for a year doing comedy. Crazy stuff. But, yeah, I want to thank you guys for being on today, talking about all this wild stuff, just digging into it, getting in, going just crazy with the topic, man, and going where we went, because we covered some ground there. We got into some deep topics.
Right on.
You know, thank you guys. Vodka. Hey, absolutely, man. Enjoy anytime.
The great water.
Been way too long. So, on that note, everybody, while you're online checking out the episode, please go online, hit up the iTunes store, download the free Dudes and Beer app. On the app, you can actually listen to the episodes. You can download the episodes. You can live comment while we are live streaming. It will actually, send you a message and let you know that we're live streaming.
Right, yeah.
No, it doesn't?
Not on the iPhone.
Okay, not on the iPhone.
No, but it changed my life, seriously.
Yeah, it did. Because Dudes and Beer is now in your pocket. We are creepily in your pocket.
Right.
Anywhere you are, I'm right there. I'm right there with you.
I did not have half as much game as I have now.
That's right.
Before I got
the beard. Randy's I heard Randy had to go to the emergency room the other day because he tripped over it while he was listening to Dudes and Beer.
I did.
It just grew, and he tripped over it and had to go to the hospital. It was crazy.
All over it.
ACA went all over him. They didn't even know how to handle the case.
No.
No. So
risk assessment.
I'm better now.
Risk assessment. Risk assessment. That's it. He's got a rascal just riding in front of him. So, on that note, while you're online downloading the app for Apple, please hop on by the Google Play Store. Download the app for Android as well. Stop on by dudesandbeer.com for all of the great episodes, for all everything that we've ever done. Stop on by YouTube. We also have videos of the week on the website dudesandbeer.com. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in every week, all the time, the last year and a half. I love you guys so much. And until next time, everyone, if you can't be good,
be good
at it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our audio streams and chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for both Android and iDevices, available on the Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Spreaker, SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the Revolution Digital Group family of podcasts. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.